Good morning, everyone. I'm Jennifer O'Connell, the Member of Parliament for Pickering-Uxbridge. It's a great honor for me to welcome you here today to my hometown and community. I first want to acknowledge my friends and colleagues who are here, the MP for Ajax, the Honourable Mark Holland, and the MP for Whitby, my friend and colleague, MP Ryan Turnbull. I'd also like to quickly acknowledge Ali Menem for hosting us in this incredible facility here. To your entire team, thank you so much for having us. It was a great thrill to be able to invite the Prime Minister here to see the incredible work you're doing, to support families and to support our broader community, because that's what it's really about when you have a business here, your family, and to support each other. So thank you so much for hosting us. But I know we are all here to see our special guest today back in Pickering. I'm very proud to work with and serve under the leadership of this Prime Minister, and I know all of you are very excited to see him as well. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce the Right Honourable Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Thank you so much.
Good morning, bonjour tout le monde. Thank you, Jen, for your intro, but also for your incredibly hard work here in Pickering. I want to thank as well Ryan Turnbull and Mark Holland, local MPs, for being here. Thank you, Ali, and the extraordinary team you have here for welcoming us today. And thank you all for being out here. It's great to be back in Pickering. I want to begin by taking a moment to offer my deepest condolences to the loved ones of the two South Simcoe police officers killed in the line of duty. I know the families of people who serve are always worried for their loved ones as they step forward to serve their communities, to keep the rest of us safe. And I can't imagine what those families are going through. Please know that we stand with you as families. We stand with all those who step up to serve and protect us all, and we will continue to be there to support those families and their colleagues and the entire community of Innisfil as they mourn this loss. Je veux offrir mes plus sincères et profondes condoléances aux familles des officiers tués à Innisfil. C'est une tragédie terrible pour les familles, pour la communauté. Nous allons être là pour les accompagner dans ces moments extrêmement difficiles. Aussi, avant de commencer, je veux prendre un moment pour parler de l'Ukraine et de l'escalade des attaques illégales et injustifiables de Vladimir Poutine. Au cours de la fin de semaine, les gens ont été horrifiés de voir des frappes contre des civils. Le Canada continue à condamner ces comportements brutaux et répréhensibles, et on continue de soutenir la défense de l'Ukraine contre les envahisseurs russes. This morning, Minister Anand announced an additional $47 million in military aid to Ukraine, including artillery ammunition, winter clothing, and drone cameras. Canada continues to stand up for human rights and the rule of law around the world alongside our allies, because we know that without it, we risk squandering the decades of peace that led to the prosperity so many have benefited from. It was a key subject of conversation yesterday when I gathered virtually with the 6 other leaders of the G7 to talk about the worsening attacks by Russia and how, as a world, we can continue to push back, not just in defense of Ukraine, not just in defense of the democratic principles that underpin all of our countries, but also in support for the millions of citizens around the world who are being impacted by indirect ways by Vladimir Putin's illegal and unjustifiable actions. That's a part of what brings me today to Pickering here in the GTA, where people are feeling the effects of Putin's war firsthand as food and energy prices go up, adding to the global inflation crisis. The rising cost of living has been hitting families hard. My colleagues and I have been hearing it directly from Canadians. I had the chance to talk to Tracy and her 2 kids earlier. Talked about the fact that it's getting harder and harder to buy fresh fruits and groceries, that the prices are going up for just about everything. We know families across Canada are working hard to get through this pandemic. And let's be clear, Canadian families did the right thing during these past years. They stayed home when they had to. They looked after each other. We got vaccinated as Canadians to some of the highest levels of anywhere in the world, which is a good reminder with cold and flu season coming up and the return of possible next waves of the pandemic. It's important that people get up to date in their boosters. We have new updated vaccines that'll give us that extra shot to keep us protected through the winter and make sure that we're continuing to do the things we love through this winter, even as the pandemic continues. But it's been a hard couple of years, and I know people are tired. And now, like Tracy, I know a lot of people are worried about making ends meet. Our government is here to help people who need it the most. Folks in the middle class and people working hard to join it. That's why the very first thing we did in Parliament this fall was to put forward the Cost of Living Relief Act bills to help make life more affordable. This relief would double the GST credit for 6 months, delivering up to an additional $467 to a family with 2 kids this fall. It's going to help about 11 million families across the country. More money in their pockets just as a time as people are looking at this winter with worry that the bills are going to be heavy. Also, families with kids under 12 who don't have dental coverage could get up to $1,300 per child over the next 2 years to help make sure that they can stay healthy and go to the dentist. And 1.8 million renters, low-income renters across the country, would benefit from a $500 one-time top-up to the Canada Housing Benefit. These are all concrete measures that we're debating right now in the House, that we're hoping to move forward on, and we call on all parliamentarians to support the GST credit as it moves through the Senate, but also support for dental, support for rental. These are things that will make a difference in the lives of Canadians right across the country. Canadians and parliamentarians need to work together to deliver it. Ces mesures font partie des efforts qu'on fait depuis 2015 pour rendre la vie plus abordable. Plusieurs prestations de revenus du gouvernement sont déjà indexées à l'inflation, par exemple celle du régime de pension du Canada et l'allocation canadienne pour enfants. Cet été, les paiements de la sécurité de la vieillesse destinés aux personnes âgées de 75 ans et plus ont augmenté de 10%. Et notre gouvernement met en œuvre un plan pour rendre le logement plus abordable en augmentant l'offre de logement, en aidant à épargner et en freinant la spéculation. We're also helping families with young children who are already saving thousands of dollars a year thanks to our plan to deliver $10 a day childcare, including many families here in Ontario who are beginning to see rebates in their childcare fees. Those are hundreds, even thousands of dollars that makes a real difference at a time where every penny counts as we're supporting our young families. And on Friday, the next Climate Action Incentive quarterly rebate payments are going out. That's the fact that the price on pollution we brought in a number of years ago actually returns more money to the average families. And that quarterly payment is going out this Friday. Here in Ontario, the fall rebate for a family of 4 is $186, part of the $745 total that you'll get this year in Ontario. Payment goes to Canadians who live in provinces with the federal price on pollution, that is Ontario, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta. And again, for the vast majority of families, for the hardworking families of the middle class and those working hard to join it, you get 80%, you get more money back from that price on pollution than you pay on average. Depuis 2015, on s'efforce de rendre la vie plus abordable et de bâtir une économie qui comprend tout le monde. Pendant la pandémie, on a effectué des investissements qui ont permis aux gens de garder leur emploi et de payer leur loyer et leur épicerie. We've worked hard to ensure that no one in our economy was left behind during the pandemic, and so our economy could come roaring back. And now Canada has one of the strongest job recoveries in the G7, and we have a really low unemployment rate. But we know that's not enough. We know we need to keep working hard for Canadians. We need to keep making sure that as the economy grows, everyone benefits, not just those at the top. That's why we'll keep investing in programs that lift people up and build a future where everyone sees and has opportunity. That's why we're focused on an economy that works for all Canadians. Merci beaucoup tout le monde.
Merci, thank you. We now have time for questions from media. On a maintenant du temps pour des questions des médias. One question, one follow-up, starting with CBC.
Great. Thank you so much. Idil Musa from CBC News. Prime Minister, last week, former Ottawa Police Chief Peter Slowly said he stepped down from his job because the public was beginning to lose trust in the Ottawa Police Service, and he needed to mitigate that. Has the public lost faith in your government, and will the inquiry restore it?
The convoy blockades of last winter massively disrupted the lives of Ottawa residents, of people relying on supply chains that come across the borders. It was something that Canadians experienced with real concern, which was why we moved forward with measures that are not to be taken lightly, but that we brought forward with the Emergencies Act in a time-limited, measured way to be able to get the situation back under control. And that's exactly what we did. But part of that process is to ensure that there is proper accountability and proper oversight after the fact. And that's why there is a public inquiry into the use of the Inquiries Act, so that Canadians can understand what and how these powers were used. That's why from the very beginning I offered to the Commission to appear at that Commission so that Canadians could understand exactly why we had to do what we did, why we didn't enter into those decisions lightly, but why it was necessary to restore order to Canada, to Ottawa and to parts of the country that were under real challenges. I look forward to the work that the Commission is going to do, and I know a lot of answers that Canadians have will be answered by that Commission. A lot of questions Canadians have will be answered by that Commission.
Can you please answer that in French as well? Thank you.
Okay. Quand on a vu les barricades illégaux cet hiver, on a utilisé des mesures qui étaient proportionnelles et nécessaires pour empêcher ces manifestations illégales de continuer à perturber l'économie et surtout la vie des gens. Mais à l'intérieur de l'utilisation de la loi sur les mesures d'urgence, qui a été faite de façon responsable et proportionnée et qui protégeait les valeurs et les principes des Canadiens, et des mesures de transparence et de vérification par la suite. C'est pour ça qu'il y a une enquête publique qui va se tenir. Et d'ailleurs, j'ai offert dès le début de paraître devant cette commission pour partager ma perspective sur comment c'était nécessaire. Je sais que cette commission va répondre à bien des questions que les Canadiens avaient.
President Zelensky after the air raids. Canada was specifically asked to provide more armored vehicles and artillery over and above what has already been committed. Why was that request ignored?
I was happy to speak with President Zelensky 2 days ago, and I heard from him directly yesterday when he spoke to us at an extraordinary G7 leaders meeting. We've continued to be there for the Ukrainians as they defend not just their own territory, but the principles that underpin our democracies. That's why I'm very pleased that Minister Anand today is making a $47 million announcement on top of the millions upon millions upon millions of dollars in support we've sent already militarily, including for artillery ammunition, winter coats, drone cameras. We're in the process of sending over more armored vehicles. We will continue to be there with the equipment that Ukraine needs to continue to push back against Russia's illegal and illegitimate invasion.
In French, please. Thank you.
J'ai pu parler au président Zelensky avant-hier et encore hier. Il s'est joint à nous pour notre rencontre des leaders du G7. Comme j'ai dit, nous allons continuer d'être là pour aider l'Ukraine, compris avec des mesures militaires. Aujourd'hui, la ministre Anand a annoncé 47 millions de dollars en plus d'aide militaire, qui comprend des munitions pour l'artillerie, mais aussi des vêtements d'hiver pour les soldats et des caméras spécialisées pour les drones. Et on continue d'envoyer d'autres équipements comme les véhicules nécessaires. On est là pour aider l'Ukraine et on va continuer de l'être.
Next question, CP.
Hi, Prime Minister. Liam Casey with the Canadian Press. We're one of the few countries that hasn't resolved an issue that's been lingering for months. Your critics argue you simply don't care. When will you fix the blockade on Canadian aid groups working in Afghanistan?
We know how important it is to support the people of Afghanistan. Many Canadians have direct connections, having served while we were there fighting for freedom and opportunity for Afghans, especially Afghan women and girls. And we will continue to look at how we can help. We recognize the Taliban as a terrorist organization, so we will not recognize them as government. But at the same time, we are continuing to work with partners around the world to help get needed humanitarian aid into Afghanistan despite the Taliban, and we will continue to do just that.
Follow-up?
Do you think the Safe Third Country Agreement still has a role to play?
The Safe Third Country Agreement is part of our system of immigration that ensures that the system works not just in Canada but around the world. There are clear criteria that we need to follow and values that need to be upheld, and we continually ensure that our system is strong and robust. We are in discussions with the United States about improvements to the Safe Third Country Agreement. We will continue to ensure that our immigration system is able to respond to the need and the desire for people to come to Canada, the need to grow our population and help people in workplaces across the country, hire new workers to keep our economy growing, but ensure that our immigration system remains robust, secure, and solid. And these are the things that we continue to work on.
Wyatt, next question.
Good afternoon, Prime Minister. Premier Danielle Smith of Alberta, who was just recently elected as UCP leader, spoke to media yesterday. She did say some quite controversial things, and she spoke a little bit about the relationship between your government and the government of Alberta, how she thinks that might change under her leadership. I'm wondering what you foresee changing, perhaps, in the relationship with the federal government under this new premier.
Thank you. It's great to see you, Wyatt. Our approach on working across the country with premiers has always been consistent in that we are there to deliver for Canadians that need help and support. We're there to grow the economy. We're there to fight the rising cost of living. We're there to develop the solutions that are going to lead to good jobs and good careers as we fight against climate change and grow the economy. And I'm looking forward, as I said to Premier Smith when I spoke to her just a few days ago, I look forward to work with her on a range of things that I know Albertans expect us to work together. Obviously, there's things we disagree on, but my focus will always be on the things that Canadians tell me are their priorities. Making sure they can put food on the table, making sure they have good jobs that'll take them not just through the next year, but the next decades. Make sure there's opportunity for their kids to grow up in a healthy environment with good careers. These are the things that are priorities for Canadians in Alberta and right across the country, and those are the things that I'm looking forward to working with Premier Smith and all premiers on.
And just briefly, too, on Hockey Canada. Hockey Canada and Bauer, its equipment provider, had suspended its support for Hockey Canada. That's obviously in addition to many different sponsors of Hockey Canada pulling out. I wonder what you make of that and what role you foresee the federal government playing in, I guess, restoring trust in this organization, and how you as a federal government can ultimately support restoring this organization.
Well, as a parent, as a Canadian, I was very pleased to see the entire board and the director of Hockey Canada step down yesterday. That's an important step forward. There's still a lot of work to do to reform the organization, to shift the culture within the organization, to ensure a culture change that'll protect the values that Canadians want to see and protect the integrity of the sport. I know Canadians have a lot of questions as well about the behavior of the Hockey Canada leadership over the past number of years. And I spoke just yesterday with our sport minister, who is continuing to work on this file to ensure that there is accountability and that there is transformation in the organization. There's much work to do, and the federal government will be there. And I wanted to highlight that all the different corporate sponsors that have responded to the concerns that Canadian families have expressed, continue to do good work as they push for better answers from Hockey Canada.
Okay. And last question, City.
Hello, Jamie with City TV. The Greater Toronto area has lost 4 police officers in the last month or so. Given that a lot of the police, or most police chiefs say that 80+% of the guns come illegally across the border, given the fact that a lot of these crimes, and I don't want to draw specific lines to any incident right now because we just don't know the details, but given that a lot of police chiefs and a lot of crimes are committed by repeat, continuous criminals, what is your government going to do to stop the illegal handgun in a criminal's hand?
Obviously, over the past number of weeks, we've seen far too many families grieving the loss of police officers killed in the line of duty, far too many families grieving the loss of loved ones, of kids killed by gun violence, killed in their communities. We need to do more, not just to support these families in grieving, but in keeping these communities safe. That's why, as a government, we have continually stepped up on gun control. We've strengthened measures at the border. That means that last year we interdicted double the amount of illegal guns crossing the border as we had just the previous year. And that work continues. There should not be illegal guns flowing across this border. We're going to continue to invest to make sure that people are safe. But at the same time, we've stepped up with some of the strongest measures to fight gun violence of any government in Canada's history. We've brought in a ban on assault weapons. It is no longer legal to buy, sell, or use assault weapons in this country. And we're launching a buyback program to ensure that those guns are removed from the streets and from people's possessions. We're also moving forward on a freeze on handguns to make sure that no new handguns are sold anywhere in Canada. These are measures that, added to other measures on community safety, on investment, in support for underserved communities, interdictions at the border, stronger measures and regulations, are going to keep Canadians safe. That's why we call on all parliamentarians and all parties, particularly the Conservative Party of Canada, to stop obstructing stronger gun law measures and support gun control.
And follow-up?
My follow-up would be, I understand the ban on handguns. I understand the
Can you pull closer to the mic?
Yeah, sorry. I understand the ban on handguns. I understand the ban on assault rifles. But I'm asking about the criminal that's continuously involved with the law, having an illegal gun in their possession and getting involved in firefights.
There are a few different ways that criminals get their hands on guns in this country. One is guns crossing the border. And that's why we've stepped up significantly on interdicting guns at the border. Like I said, last year we stopped double the amount of guns that we had the previous year, and we're continuing to invest further. The second way is people buy guns legally on the market and then sell them to criminals. That's going to be more difficult because we brought in a ban on assault weapons. It's now illegal to buy, sell, or use assault weapons in this country. And we brought in a freeze on handguns. It's no longer possible to purchase handguns in this country. That's the second way people get handguns in this guns in this country. The third way to get guns in this country is by stealing guns from either gun shops or legal gun owners. And we're also bringing in stronger measures to strengthen the rules and the conditions of storage. The vast majority of gun owners in this country follow safe storage rules, but we need to make sure that everyone does, and we're strengthening those rules as well. There's no one easy answer to solve the challenges faced by gun violence in this country. I can tell you one thing: conservatives are wrong when they say the way to solve gun violence is to do less gun control.
Okay, thank you. That concludes today's press conference.